They also used some super soldier kids for deep dives of clearing out mines and caves, one of which was Bon Terre. We called it Bone Terre. And 88 state parks, 88 also being a time travel code that's been occupied. These places had been previously occupied for long periods of time by things in the water. Some of these were silicate mines and other types of elements and creatures, entities also like these deep caves and these mines. So many of these places had to be cleared out before they became public. And then whoever owned the property could make money off of them. One place was called Missouri Historic Mines, the abandoned ruins in Ironton, Silver Mines region. And one of the boys got mercury poisoning there and chemical poisoning there dumped on him, actually. And there was a lot of interdimensional fighting there with old mining carts going down hills on rails and smashing the interdimensionals and then jumping up this pillared concrete ruins levels, level by level, to about 4 levels. And there's also underground tunnels. And this also relates to the last Mimsy movie, which was about character files as well and subalters strewn across movies like Harry Potter and other connections to House of Leaves and the Whale's Toe journals. The whale being the whale of file recovery, and the whale's toe being a secret place to hide data and information. So also there's songs like the Bjork song Happy Birthday is about having fake birthdays that they put a lot of the children through. And some of the birthdays they had rituals with them with, and it also relates to bases in Iceland and Greenland and Nordic type programming. And it's why in that video, Bjork Happy Birthday, it shows naked children lining up and in circles randomly in reference to old men circles and old men smoking cigars in their groups that were running the programs in the ice bases. Then there was spirit tech there also and implanted there, and many kids didn't escape some of the bases of the Alaska and Iceland and Greenland regions and the Abu Bogata Nazi base. Now, there's also like a prisoner of Azkaban type branding where cryogenics and waste stations of certain individuals linger with their duplicate copies sent back out to the public. So when you do deliverance and clearing of your files and anything with the Beast computer and the Beast networks, or even altar clearing, you also have to mention the holographic backup copies of everything as well. That gets thrown out into the astral realms. They have seed bank storage there, hoarding of the world's primus resources in the North/South Pole region. Same thing is prevalent in these regions and the mountains that are there. The movie As Above, So Below was about sending super soldiers into Mayan and Aztec-like subterranean systems to learn from them and what was going on in the unexplored regions of them and clearing them out and accessing doors and places, even through bloodletting, that hadn't been able to be accessed for a while. Like there's many doors in many regions of the world that there's no key for, that are accessed interdimensionally or through DNA sound toning. And this is also underwater too, in underwater sea bases. So we also found albino creatures down there that were actually very frail and weak when you got past the monstrosity and the paralyzing grip of the fear of what they looked like in the dark, especially. So then we just ended up calling them the troglodyte rubbernecks because there were actually cloaked figures way deep down there with big black bulging eyes, and they did have frog-like faces. And there was also a cult down there that was smearing red blood over their eyes, which they also portrayed in the movie as well. Now, what was actually down there that was the most important, you went through 3 black holes through an old abandoned ruins of a church, was to get to this base and then also under the water. And a mother type, like the mother monster of everything, was down there with large gills on her neck underneath the catacombs of Paris. And this was also in connection with the song The Marabou Bridge, The Wonderful Bridge, and Red Hot Chili Peppers Under the Bridge. And this was like falling down the spiral steps backwards of the London Tower type of surrealism. But this mother monster that was down there was actually being fed children in pajamas that were catatonic and then brought down by that passageway at night. And their heads were devoured in her large gilled mouth. So France has a lot of strange movies involving missing children and monsters and things like that, based not just on folklore, but actual secret operations and events. So we were also put in a black shelled box on a beach next to a giant water Draco, and there was a ritual done there with spirit trappings and boxes that were like soul cubes on certain occasions. And they tested the fear of people in this certain region and area. And then too much fear, and the black box would break open and eat the people. And it was used as an example of satanic rituals for the Marine Kingdom. And then there's also a history of the bushwhackers and the jayhawkers, and bushwhacked Bush Hotel in Notch, Missouri, taking things down a notch and bringing things up a notch a lot. There's a post office there for travelers in a back village off a dirt road on 76. And Uncle Ike Old Man Erasmus was always there. Galena was where a Y bridge was located, and evil bloodstones that people put on their wounds. Around this area, we were trained for underwater missions to Atlantis and Lemurian gate tech openings, and recon and extractions that were done down there to the ruins and portals and gates in the deeper waters that started off with intercoastal Atlantic ports mainly. And LAMP had a lot of these secret projects. Off Devil's Pool Road, Dogwood Road, Old Mill Road, Grist Mill, Hertzville, Yellville, the Flash Bridge, Norfolk, Silver Oaks Road at Stonebridge Lodge, Ledgestone Golf Course, Black Oak Mountain Resort, Black Mountain Road, John the Diver Road, Firefox Resort, where Fire Yetis were at. And also where there was purple Tesla experimentation and lightning done. Wolf Resort by Indian Point Village, where a fire broke out and a reptilian was drowned in a pool outside. Black Oak Theater, and many, many more. The Clavens, vampire and wolf clans, would try to get people or certain children to join them, to marry them, to continue their bloodline and into their occult families. Red's Landing at Calico Rock, Arkansas, was much like Bloody Hill in the Civil War, and interdimensional breaching happened there, and cannonballs set up, below backing. Dry Branch, Camp Creek Branch, back off Battery Hill. This is also where Aunt Rhodey's song was made. Go tell Aunt Rhodey that the old gray goose is dead. Aunt's Creek also had supernatural activity. Red, code name again for vampires, and Blue Lion was part of the Paris code for trafficking that went on there for a very long time at St. James Park. So many of these places carried on the work in modern day hunting lodges, such as the Black Forest Rothschild Lodge in Germany and others, and why they're all being dismantled and taken down, and all their assets seized and wealth redistributed. A boy also didn't make it in some of these initial water trials. We're talking about the mines and the cave regions and deep dives. So sometimes kids' bodies were covered up at Gulf resorts or certain areas with people who owned certain properties. There was also kids being smuggled in the insides and the spaces between the walls and the hallways of the Notch Inn. Caboose Junction was a big hot spot and was like a place from hell itself, with actual skinwalkers in the woods. And a man was actually sitting in a chair with a shotgun, intimidating kids not to run. And a lot of these properties had strange mansions precariously placed deep out in the middle of nowhere in the woods, so that if you did run, some of these people knew the owners of the property. So it was kind of a setup everywhere. And there's white SUVs, black SUVs out on dirt trails, cameras positioned in the trees. Sometimes many cars all of a sudden pulling up at once. So a lot of kids tried to run from that area. And there's also boat traffickers there too on the lakes. A lot of the names for roads were very odd too, like Spinning Road, the Naughty Inn, Uncle Bob's, Stonebridge Relic Shop, Clearwater Cove Young Life, like Young Blood Camp right next door, Mill Creek Hidden Shores. They like to tuck away their ordeals into areas that have like abandoned mills a lot of the time, or places that are pretty run down. And Mill Creek Hidden Shores. And some of these were privately tucked away into communities, like restricted communities, they called some of them. The wolf bloodline had huge ears, those clavens, and had territorial spots like nests in certain spots and places, just like the Supernatural series shows. They know that they're a dying breed, though, and they trap people in certain remote areas to feed off of them because that's what they were doing for hundreds of years. And human hunting has always been one of their sports. So some of the super soldier kids were taken on different types of buses out in these countryside areas too. But one particular hotel in Notch had in the history of Stone County, you can see it was called the Bush Hotel. This is way before the modern day Bushes came into the public view. And what they had at this hotel was very large cats that would roam the hallways and shut people in and eat them. And a lot of witches, sorcerers guarded a lot of these spots too. They always do rituals and have strongholds in whatever establishment that they choose to keep in their grasp. And they fight for these establishments, even if they're rotten and run down, like a pit bull with something in its mouth. So, and because they also are hiding and concealing all their secrets too. So a lot of these places just need to be destroyed instead of being cleared and cleaned out. Abesville was near this area, ABE, and that was a lost village. James Creek, Crooked Creek, Jamesville, Katy Bridge. These were many frequented places. They also used Katy Bridge in the movie Stephen King. Sometimes they come back from a real story. And then they also threw up the Red Shoe Club, being the symbol of sacrifice. Crane, Missouri was also frequented. Galena, Reed Springs. These places had many Masonic strongholds for decades. Wire Road, Tanglefoot Resort, the 17th Gulf Hole at Ledgestone. Always using the Tribe of Dan flag at a lot of places too, and certain marina points where there was water labs. A lot of pizza joints too, and you could actually just make a social page and make it look normal, because some of these spots they wanted to look more appealing or more normal to people for it to actually stop at, that were in the Ozarks, that were very creepy places. Like Ozark Mountain Pizza, pizza places that have big checkerboards on them, or whatever symbology they're using for the old original Pizzagate. Some of these places were near Possum Church, Possum Valley, Mormon run places like the Mormon ruined Indian Ridge ruins that a fallen angel battle was at. Wilderness churches. Some of these places have lores with werewolf problems, like wolf families hunting in a lycanthropic way down foggy valleys on the White River. So they called these families lycanthropic because their bodies would actually become contorted from being on all fours. And in these death poses, you actually had to prop some of them up with sticks because their bodies were literally falling apart. Real estate was positioned in a lot of different areas. for trafficking, for hubs, for homes, for queen bees who ran certain things. Old Joe's Cove by Norfolk Lake was a battlefield too. Woolly Creek, Red's Landing, Camdenton, Kokomo, Cokehead Estates, various surrounding camps near gated mansion communities. Pedestal House on Lake of the Ozarks and Lazy Days condominiums by Rolla. Pelican Black came from here, from this totem rock that was destroyed in various Pelican Bays. And Pelican Cays. Handlers would sometimes give children stones attached to rhymes of stars like the Eye of Taurus, like catch a falling star, put it in your pocket. This was to program them into trading their heart for a stone. Because the word of God says, I will replace your heart of stone with a heart of flesh and write my law into it. When the Lord examines the righteous and the wicked, it's like he shines a flashlight right into us, so he sees what's written into our hearts and if we're filled and empowered with his word or not, and if our heart is pure. And taking communion strengthens our resolve and consolidates into relationship with the Creator and receiving washed, clean minds, maintaining that pure heart, and having clean hands. So it's good to take communion on a regular basis.